Hello everybody, I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today's video is Joe. Treason, corruption, and all-around deep state hubris on parade in the Biden family. Just looking really at the higher altitude picture of who this guy is, who his family is, and how they have played their whole role as, essentially satellite surrogates for this man who has been at least nominally a public servant, right, for his entire life. It's just amazing that somebody could be in the Senate. He was the AOC of his day. People don't even, remember. I mean, it was before I was even born, but I remember reading about Joe Biden. I remember back when I even supported the guy back, even during the Bush years, and when Biden chose him as a running mate, I thought that was a fairly good choice at the time, at least compared to Sarah Palin. I mean, like, hitting yourself in the hammer only one time instead of 5 times seems more rational, but by comparison. But it's just amazing how everything has been, again, inverted, right? The moral arbiters and sort of fascists in society are not on the religious right. They are the anti-fascists. They are not even communists. They are acting on behalf of the plutocracy. They are literally enforcing the establishment's goals. You don't get to call yourself anti-establishment when you have all of the media and all of the think tanks and all of the, the royal governments and all these elite entities, right? You don't get yourself you don't get to call yourself a communist. You don't even get to call yourself, a leftist at that point, because you are literally serving the will of the plutocracy more than any right-winger could ever even dream of in their wildest imagination. Because ultimately, who is it that is, endorsing these things? It is literally Mike Bloomberg, George Soros, and, not all billionaires are the same, right? You have, you don't even necessarily have to have a billion. Like Jeffrey Epstein was called a billionaire, and he didn't even have a billion. He had like 765 million or something. But then again, that's just how much they were able to recover. So maybe he had a lot more that he was able to bury in the backyard or something, drop a chest from his little yacht and then pick it up one day. Maybe we should just go take a mini sub around Little St. James and see what we can find, eh? But in any case, Mike Bloom, even Trump, he's got, I think, less than 10 billion ultimately. But Mike Bloomberg and George Soros are big billionaires, right? They have lots and lots of billions. And it's just funny because people, again, the operating assumption of the whining liberal left, neoliberal across the board on the left, money in politics, money, they're coming in with money and they're buying politics. It's like, you guys literally are the party of Wall Street now. Like, Trump is not, is beneficial for the stock market, but he's not necessarily beneficial for the institutionalized cartels that characterize our modern American economy and global economy, right? Everyone's kind of followed the lead of the Pied Piper and set up their own corrupt ways in emulation of the imperial corruption model. And, it's, again, why the IMF and the World Bank and all these federal aid programs, they're always affiliated with corruption in the countries, the recipient countries where the money is going to. It is an institutionalized aristocracy, and that is when, these coups happen and regime change, it's because, that, entity, that ruling clique that was, just the affiliated gang at the time, right? They are biting the hand that feeds them, so to speak, and now we're just going to support the other side. And so, to a large extent, there is a absolutely false political divide, not just in this country, but in every country. It's not to say that we're all one, man, and we just need to unite, because there are real divisions, and it's a spiritual division. This is a spiritual, dimensional war, and it is a problem in the heart of mankind that crosses throughout the human species. It's just that in certain lineages, we've had more of a concerted effort and an opportunity to, bring ourselves into the forebrain rather than the hindbrain, and to use our higher faculties, so to speak. And it is when we use those higher faculties that we develop civilization, right? The specialized division of labor and, time preferences and, not, working through coordinated production instead of, raping and pillaging and murdering and taking by force, reaving, if you will, the reft, as they were and are just those who take what they want and take what they need without any regard for bourgeois sensibilities like morality and ethics and all that. That's just a mental construct that people have made. In their mind, everything is a mental construct, which is why they feel then the authority and the power to deconstruct everything and just rewrite the meaning of words and just, institute this psychobabble, right? The Orwellian newspeak, a language that is not exactly the previous language, and even English is, full of traps and pitfalls as well. It's an interesting language when you really get into it. But it is designed to be, to suit a certain set of cognition, a pattern of the brain, right? A program. And so, when we say things like moderate rebels, right? Our mind brings to a picture associated with different words, and why, what is the connotation is more important than the denotation. The denotation is what it literally means. The words have literal meanings, right? It goes back to their Latin and Greek roots, but they do have meaning, and even if nobody knows what they are, they exist. But then there's the connotation of all the meanings that are associated with a word that don't necessarily come literally, but just, colloquially, of people just associating things. And it is with that newspeak, even the word, the word gay, it used to mean happy, and now the word means essentially homosexual, and they changed the language away from how it was, because one, right, when you hear homosexual, you think, basically of sexual acts, right? But when you hear the word gay, you think of happy, and, basically, so it was kind of part of, that's a great example of the linguistic reprogramming. Alright, so where was I? Yes, so the controlling aspect of language and the visual speech, which is the basis of, telepathy of speech and communication beyond language, of speaking in the forms. This is how they control us, how they, again, like Joe Biden, saying Russian disinformation about the whole, scandal with the laptop. I mean, of all the times they've said, Trump claimed without evidence that, you can inject bleach, right? They just completely distort his words and pull things out of thin air and say that Trump has no evidence. And here they are just obfuscating without even the barest shred of evidence to, gesture towards. It is really astounding how much they think that they can control people's minds. And it, again, still is astounding how many people that I know who are otherwise intelligent people who buy this and who fall for this shtick and want that warm, fuzzy blanket of words that make them feel nice, like everything's okay. But, it doesn't matter what reality is. Doesn't matter all the wars that Obama started, and Biden and Hillary. It doesn't matter all the people that died that the media didn't tell them about, right? All those people who die of cancer and heart disease every year, far more than 250,000 every single year in this country. That's not a big deal because, it happens all the time, right? All the banality of evil, right? Of just that mundane aspect of people just fulfilling routines and parroting what they've been told without actually checking and making sure that other people's work is correct, because they are lazy and they are degenerate. In the literal sense of the word, they are degenerated, right? Generation is the production of power. Degeneration is the dissolving, the dissolution of power to the point where it is null and possesses no potency. and does not have the ability to do any work in the world. That is why they want us, basically shedding ourselves in this world, helter-skelter, and consuming all kinds of poison and living without any sort of moral guide or spiritual purpose, because ultimately that is where they get to reave among us and aggregate that energy that we are dissolving. It really is the Matrix, right? In an energetic sense, a bioenergetic sense, the human, when it is acting, is like a mini power plant. It just keeps on going. And if you can harness the energy that people are working off of, that's basically what essentially the banking system is today, which more and more people are waking up to, is parasitic in its very basic mathematics, founding the entire process. And we can have a monetary system that's not parasitic. It can even have interest. It's just that the money supply has to actually be tied to something of tangible value and can't be issued at like an interest rate. We can't owe more money than exists, right? It doesn't make any sense. It will mathematically always concentrate power in the hands of those who have the seigniorage, of those who have the issuing potential for the credit. And it's very basic. And, in incrementally lesser sense, those who are closest to, those who are closest to that fountain get the next highest utility of the credit, right? It's basically the central banks, and then it's the commercial banks and the primary dealers, and then it's basically all the associated financial entities, and it's basically then the corporate world, and it's every business that's out there, whether they're public or private, is dealing in the same essentially capital market. And even if you never take a dollar of investment, you are still operating within this world, and those incentives, right, those vicissitudes and tides are still going to influence you. So you have to know how to move among the tides. You have to know how to respond using every tool that is available, even in a system that really should be reformed from the very foundation. Because you don't need to, all you need to do is be a moral person and live your life correctly according to your own moral values, right? Regardless of which, religion you ascribe to, right? I have no problem with any sort of person that chooses to live this way, whether or not they call themselves religious or not, because ultimately it is a science. It is a metaphysical science. And we know that actions have consequence. We know that there is a non-material realm. We know that dreams have a massive significance throughout the entire development of the human species. And we see it, basically almost having, through an evolutionary lens, for those who think along those lines, that we're just the highest pinnacle of intelligence that has ever been on this world. Why would we sleep and dreaming doesn't even make sense from an evolutionary point of view. I mean maybe it does, except our body dedicates almost a third of its day, normally when you're getting optimal sleep, to basically training programs of preparing itself for the future, right? So even that, even through, whether it's you see it as divine spark or you see it as an evolutionary quirk, the point is that time does not exist in a physical sense. It exists, as Ken Wheeler says, conventionally, but not ultimately. And so we can perceive information in the future, right? We can remember the past and we can remember the future because things are moving on an arc. It has a general arc and flow, and it will, given where it's going, will reach a certain point. It has a trajectory and all the points through which it will pass. And of course that can be changed, and that's what this whole dimensional threshold is about, is that we're going through a phase change, right? It's still water, ice, steam, and liquid water are all basically the same molecule, the same substance. But depending on the energy that is flowing among the constituent particles and through the substance, that is the extent to which you have the phase change. And so, it's not that it's the end of the world, it's that it's changing from one phase into another. And I, as you know, am optimistic about that because I am acting beneficially to create a foothold in that realm and to build my castle in that in the kingdom of heaven, if you will. and not trying to build, castles made out of sand using false, ploys and schemes. And just, it's amazing to me the amount of just schemers, as the Joker might say, the schemers and their schemes, just trying to make money off of just paper and just pretending like they're making value when in reality they're just basically, it's just a scam, a confidence scheme. There is a legitimate side of finance and of capitalism, absolutely, but it's, again, in any system, it doesn't really matter. It's those who have that scheming, malicious mentality that are the problem. And the question is, do we have a system that is instituted to check and balance those schemes and malintents, or do we have a system that is there to amplify them and to make sure that they go unimpeded, and just to take out the lower competitors so that they don't actually disturb the oligarchs? And it is the oligarchs who Joe Biden is intimately affiliated with across the world. Basically they get all up their panties up in a bunch because Trump went and had a diplomatic meeting with Kim Jong-un, but they'll take money from all these oligarchs all over the world. That it does not matter. All the moral posturing is an illusion. With Trump, at least you have a genuine love for this country and a genuine nationalism. And again, you don't have to celebrate every single thing that he does to hear in his voice that he is genuine. And he actually, is speaking from a place that is connected to his heart. And whereas with every single one of these Democrats, you listen to them talking, and I can just hear this mental program. I just see this scheme running behind their eyes. And again, they think that no one can see it. But I think that as we go through this phase change, more and more people can see it. And why, the support for Biden is mainly in just, again, the older, just kind of, let's say, porous boomers through which basically, such ridiculous nonsense can pass unimpeded. Because even the liberal people who I know, who I converse with and argue with, those that are still able to converse and argue about politics without breaking down into Trump derangement syndrome, they don't support Biden. They see that he's an incredibly weak candidate. They see where this is going. But, at the same time, there's a whole institution behind him, the deep state and all of this corruption that is there, making sure that even if Biden gets exposed, it saves the system, because this goes way bigger than Biden, and it involves many who call themselves Republican as well. And it's kind of my working thesis on why Lindsey Graham cozied up to Trump so much after John McCain died, is he realized that he didn't have too many friends left, and he started changing his tune and really trying to get cozied up to the new party, because we are not going back to the old neoconservative party. We have completely demolished that party with Trump, and if they want to make that party, then it's going to be some other parliamentary, the liberal fascist party, right? And, they can have Antifa, their foot soldiers, but ultimately, in Trump's second term, I hope we see more coordinated action to basically take... This is a domestic terrorist organization being financed by insurgent plutocrats, against Trump himself, who is a democratically elected populist leader. And, Trump, for all his foibles, his instinct for PR is how he knows to stay out of, stepping in the biggest turds. And, I think has kept him, that is the instinct that has kept him out of a war. I think that's the instinct that has helped him keep his cool and his energy over the last 4 years while being just viciously attacked by all these just troglodyte, miscreant, just foul creatures from hell, that populate the media and entertainment classes. But, that is the strength that I'm talking about. That's the light, as opposed to the rift. And it takes its strength from the source of life, from God himself, manifested through this creation, right? And the avatar, our son, in the sky, and also God's Son as Jesus Christ, bringing that unity to the planet through a coherent moral philosophy that enables us to progress in a real sense, not progress in the sense of progress like the progressives, because we had our highest moment long ago in the past, and we will return, but only when we actually start to raise our vibration, think more in the forebrain, but also to unite the instinct of the hindbrain. We want to be wise as serpents, he said, and but peaceful as doves in a sense. We should have that almost reptilian brain activated, but in the service of the forebrain. And that is called balance. That's called health. That's called wellness. And that's called just being cool in the eye of the storm, while basically moving with and rolling with the tidal waves all around you. And so, yeah, that's where I see Trump. That's why I look forward to another 4 years of him as president, and all the entertainment that will ensue, and hopefully a lot of indictments. We'll see. But now everybody's expectations are high. Even the people that are just doing a spite vote, who don't even like Trump, but just realize that Biden and the left just need to be just defeated roundly as much as humanly possible. Even they are like, you know what, you better do something this time, Trump. And so we'll see. These subpoenas and lawsuits against big tech are very encouraging. So we'll see where they go. But again, we have to shepherd this process through at all stages and never lose that vigilance to always keep our eye on the prize and guide this process home and hold everyone to account if they start to veer from the path, as I'm veering from the path right now. Because ultimately that is also being our brother's keeper, and it includes everyone all the way up to the president and above, including myself. Check my work and let me know if you see anything that's amiss, and I will do the same. And that's my video today. I'll take you guys have a good one. Share the video if you like it. Peace.
Ah.